It has been very interesting to observe. Like, I grew up eating Indian food. Like, I grew up in India. I only moved here in October 2024. And Indian food is nice. I enjoy Indian food. The flavors, and there's so many cuisines like all over the country. It's a huge country. It's not like Indian food. It's just saying that sounds ridiculous because it's every different part of India has different types of cuisines, and they're all fantastic. I don't think there is any Indian cuisine that I do not like. And as a Fauji kid or the daughter of an army officer, I got to travel around all over the country and try different foods as a youngster, as a teenager, as a child. And then in Delhi and Gurgaon, where I lived for the last decade and more, I got to eat a lot of international cuisines as well, because I was working with a lot of brands, and they would invite. And like, Delhi has so much food, all kinds of food, street food, 5-star restaurants, Michelin star maybe also. Yeah, I think we have one Indian accent, I think. And I've been super privileged to try a lot of Indian food as well as international food. And then I had traveled internationally also. And then when I moved to Australia, I was very excited about discovering Australian cuisine. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was genuinely not expecting what Australian cuisine actually is. As compared to India, there is almost no flavor. Like, if you're coming from Indian cuisine, Australian cuisine can be quite bland. It depends. Like, meats, for example, I don't mind because I like the flavor of meat on its own. I also like it with the masalas and the spices and the flavors that India uses. So I was quite surprised. I was like, oh, okay, whatever, this is fine. I mean, I enjoy it. So I went to make my usual salads with goat cheese and stuff like that. That's what I eat. And then I met Jamie, and Jamie was like, oh, let's go to an Indian place to eat an Indian meal. And I was like, oh, like, before that I was like, I'm still kind of new here. I don't really want to eat any Indian stuff yet. And I hadn't really explored the Indian food scene in Adelaide till then. I mean, I was pretty sure there must be something, but I hadn't looked for it. And then we went and we, ate at a place. And the first time I went and ate Indian food was, we ate a dosa at some place. And I was like, oh my God, this dosa is not like how dosa is supposed to be. And Jay was like, what are you talking about? It's excellent. And I was like, this is weird. It's not excellent. It's like barely passable. And then I was like, yeah, but it's Adelaide, so whatever. And then over the last few months that we've been hanging out, and we go out to eat invariably to an Indian place, or maybe a Nepalese place. And I have seen him enjoy the aspects of Indian food that I basically took for granted. And it's been interesting to see that, because he will make dal chawal. He will cook dal chawal himself, and then he will eat it with his hands, and then he'll be like, oh, it could use a little bit of this. And then the next time he makes it, he'll make it like that. And then he'll be like, oh, it could use a little bit of this. And I'm just like, what is happening? Because he really appreciates all the flavors and the spices, because he didn't grow up with any of them. He ate what I consider is not very flavorful Australian food, and I'm being polite. So for me to see him that, I was like, wow, Indian food is good. We went to... So we've eaten dosa a few places, and we went to another place to eat dosa, and they gave us like chutney, and it was not coconut chutney. It was a different kind of, like a dal kind of chutney. And I was like, this is not coconut chutney. And Jamie was like, but it's different chutney and it's fantastic. And I was like, that is true. So my relationship with food seems to have changed because of that. Not just to Indian food, but to like food in general. And then also for him, for example, he lives like a 7 or 8 minute drive from a beach. And Adelaide has a lot of beaches. South Australia has a lot of beaches. And he hadn't been in the water for like a couple of years. And I was aghast. I was like, what are you talking about? You live right next to a beach. How can you not go to a beach? Because for me, I grew up mostly in, areas where there was no beach. I mean, it was in the hills, or it was in the desert, or in a city, or whatever. And we used to have like school vacations, and maybe once in 2-3 years we'd go towards the beach, but mostly we would drive to the mountains or something like that. So beaches weren't really part of my growing up, and I love beaches. I feel like I'm a water baby. So swimming pools, beaches, whatever, give it to me. So when I moved to Australia, I was really looking forward to the beaches, and I can't imagine not going to a beach when you have one like right there. How can you not? Like, so for him to see that in me, he appreciates beaches more now, which is, so it's like we're rediscovering our love for things that we were otherwise just taking for granted and not even realizing that we were doing that. So from every time I point to the blue sky and the clean air and that you can see the Milky Way from your own fucking backyard, it's like, he's like, huh, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you're living in paradise. And it really is like paradise. And the fact that you get Indian food here is just the cherry on top. So it's really nice rediscovering my love for the things that I have taken for granted for a very long time.